I just turned off the actual tape when I was reading it there. Because I wanted to turn up the volume. Okay, so I'm going to start that again. Tamu pashyata ninadam jagad baya bayavaham pratyujayu praja sarva batra darshana lalasha. The citizens of Dwarka, having heard that sound which threatens fear personified in the material world, began to run towards him fast, just to have a long-desired audience with the Lord, who is the protector of all devotees. As already explained, the citizens of Dwarka, who lived at the time of Lord Krishna's presence, there were all liberated souls, and descended there, along with the Lord as entourage. All were very anxious to have an audience with the Lord, although because of spiritual contact, they were never separated from the Lord. Just as the gopis at Vrindavan used to think of Krishna while he was away from the village for cowherding engagements, the citizens of Dwarka were all immersed in thought of the Lord while he was away from Dwarka to attend the battle of Kurukshetra. Some distinguished fiction writer in Bengal concluded that the Krishna of Vrindavan, that of Mathura and that of Dwarka were different personalities. Historically, there is no truth in this conclusion. The Krishna of Kurukshetra and the Krishna of Dwarka are one and the same personality. The citizens of Dwarka were thus in a state of melancholy due to the Lord's absence from the transcendental city, as much as we are put in a state of melancholy at night because of the absence of the sun. The sound heralded by Lord Krishna was something like the heralding of the sunrise in the morning. So all the citizens of Dwarka awoke from a state of slumber because of the sunrise of Krishna, and they all hastened toward him just to have an audience. The devotees of the Lord know no one else as protector. The sound of the Lord is identical with the Lord, as we have tried to explain by the non-dual position of the Lord. The material existence of our present status is full of fear. One of the four problems of material existence, namely the food problem, the shelter problem, the fear problem, and the mating problem. The fear problem gives us more trouble than the others. We are always fearful due to our ignorance of the next problem. The whole material existence is full of problems, and thus the fear problem is always prominent. This is due to our association with the illusory energy of the Lord, known as Maya or external energy. Yet all fear is vanished as soon as there is the sound of the Lord, represented by his holy name, as it was sounded by Lord Sri Krishna Mahaprabhu in the following 16 words. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can take advantage of these sounds and be free from all threatening problems of material existence. Amigana Timarandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchikalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhueva Cha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. We can see in all of these purports by Srila Prabhupada that the position of the devotees in Dwarka, as well as the position of the devotees in Vrindavan and Mathura, they're all similar. They all have one thing in common, and that is that they're immense attraction for Krishna. Another thing that we get here from the purport as well is that Krishna talks about the devotees that are in Dwarka, how they all also descended with Krishna. They descended to Dwarka to await Krishna's presence there. There is obviously many deeper insights into this whole understanding, but Srila Prabhupada, at the beginning of the purport, he makes it very clear that it's not that there's a different Krishna in Vrindavan, Kurukshetra, Dwarka. It's the same Krishna. So we start to get some understanding of the incomparable energies of Krishna. It's quite amazing because it's the same Krishna that's in every atom. it's the same Krishna who is there in the temple in Innisrath, and also outside the temple in Innisrath in every atom. That's not to say that we don't take extreme, have extreme affection and take great care that when Krishna appears in a place like Innisrath, Govindadwipa, that we don't worship him in his worshipable form. In fact, that's especially where we should worship him. When Krishna agrees to appear like that to our eyesight, material eyesight, okay, you could say spiritual eyesight also. These are some of the subtle differences that are there in the following Krishna in this world, that we constantly read about in the Bhagavatam and we constantly meditate upon. The meditation is vital for our understanding of Krishna, because it means that we focus. It's like it is meditation. That's basically what it is. We meditate on the sound vibration. We see with our ears, but it's not just then that we see. We also then take it in and we think about it. I don't know if everybody else gets this experience, but sometimes when I'm reading in the Bhagavatam, I just kind of take a little time out and I go through what's been said. It's something that it's kind of developed over the years, and it's I find it extremely useful, because sometimes what I do while I'm doing that, I argue various points in my head and show the Krishna conscious conclusion being the most realistic, and it is the best. Basically, it answers all the problems. I find that very useful to have kind of arguments going on from a materialistic point of view, and to show how the Krishna conscious Siddhanta actually answers any of those problems and gives a clear insight into the nature of spirit. And it's very relishable. It's very it gives one a sense of the greatness of the philosophy, and also the presence of the philosophy, the presence of Krishna, because ultimately our ability to understand these things is it's not limited by our rational ability. It is limited though by our Trinadapi Sinichena Tororapi Sahishnana Amanina Manadinar Kirtaniya Siddharhari. It's limited by our humility, you could say. In other words, our ability not to take shelter of our rational ability. I would not actually put it as rational. I would put it more like as our dependence on our brain, or our ability to understand things only. Because as we know, this information is Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. It actually descends from the spiritual world, and all that we can do is to become reciprocal in our love of God. We're reciprocal. We can only take on what we are actually. If we are qualified, Krishna will appear to us, and Shastra Shakshu is the same thing. Is that we're given the eyes to see through Shastra. So by submissive oral reception, submission, does that sound good? Submissive oral reception. In that way we can actually make progress, and we can actually understand things. We can take in knowledge. We have an ability then to understand the spiritual world. What a big change from the 21st century schizoid man, as they say. What a big change from the rugged individualist who can handle everything. The Bruce Willis, I think, is the guy that he always comes to save the world, or Tom something or other, Tom Cruise or whatever. They always have these movies where this great individual comes. Sometimes they will go to the realms of fantasy and Superman will come and save, or Batman, or one of these characters. But ultimately this is all false propaganda in the name of the false ego, because the false ego can't do anything. We have to become completely surrendered to Krishna in order to be qualified to get this knowledge. But as we can see here, this is not a passive thing. It is a very much an active thing. It's not as if Krishna wants to go around and associate with a whole bunch of, completely submissive guys who say, oh yes, 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 whatever you say. That doesn't from our understanding anyway, and from reading the books, doesn't turn Krishna on, for want of a better phrase. He kind of, it seems to me very clearly that Krishna wants reciprocation, and he has empowered us with this ability, with individuality, to reciprocate with him, specifically to reciprocate with him, and and he has made it so broad and liberal that we can reciprocate with him on many, many fronts and many, many other situations. And just like here, Krishna has his Dwarka servants or Dwarka friends. He has his Mathura friends, and he has his Vrindavan friends. But what we notice that throughout all of these things, that it is his Vrindavan friends which actually keep on suffusing through all of those things. Sometimes when he's in Dwarka and he hears about Mother Yashoda, he completely chokes up. He's on the battlefield. He's the great warrior on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but you be very careful if you mention Mother Yashoda, because he can suddenly, it completely absorbs him then, and he starts to think about his mother. Even when he was, we were recently hearing that he's been at the Gurukul of Sandipani Muni, and when he was there, he was meant to be a brahmachari, but at night he used to talk with Balaram about the pastimes in Vrindavan, and sometimes he was conflicted because automatically he's thinking about the gopis in Vrindavan, yet he's supposed to be a brahmachari in the ashram. So sometimes his Vrindavan pastimes actually overwhelm him, even when he's in the other places like Vrindavan or in Mathura and Dwarka. Like in this particular position here, he's coming back to Dwarka, having left Kurukshetra. So here's the Krishna who's been in association with Yudhishthir and with Queen Kunti, with Bhishma, and he's coming back to his loving wives in Dwarka, Rukmini and all the other queens, Satyabham. But then they have the understanding that at night, sometimes when they're with Krishna, Krishna's thinking about the gopis, starts calling out for Radharani. It's kind of like a conflicting thing, and then he starts to think about Mother Yashoda. So so these are the things that Prabhupada is hinting at here, at the in his purports, in this particular purport here, when Krishna is going back to Dwarka from Kurukshetra, and then there's a whole group of extra persons then come to meet him coming out to meet Krishna. So we get another understanding from when Narada Muni went and visited Krishna in Dwarka, and he went to several of the 16,108 palaces that were there. And so he went there and he had a look around, and he went into one palace and Krishna was doing one thing there and greeted Narada. Then he went to another palace and then he was again greeted by Krishna. And in another palace, again, Krishna was doing something completely different. So we know that in Krishna book how that's explained. And Narada is amazed how all of these things are going on. So we get some understanding of the greatness of Krishna. So can we go and prove that by some laboratory experiment? No. We can understand that by some submissive oral reception, which I was speaking about at the start. And then we also see that even in Vrindavan, it's said that one of the reasons Krishna was, he'd gone to the, Krishna had gone to Mathura to sort out his uncle Kamsa, and he arrived there, and all the cowherd boys and Nanda Maharaj went with him, and of course when they had the great wrestling match, all the different people that were there, they all saw Krishna in a different light. So that's another variation that's there as well. But at the end of it, when he destroyed Kamsa, he took Kamsa from the throne and came down and beat him. So even there's different versions of how that happened, but he killed Kamsa basically, and then he dragged Kamsa's body throughout Mathura to show that he was actually dead, and that people could actually come out from their hiding. But then it was time for the cowherd boys to head back, and Nanda Maharaj wanted to go back. And so that was a very awkward situation then, because Krishna was there, he was stuck, and all Vasudeva and Devaki hadn't seen him for such a long time, and now they were pining over him, and Krishna was in an awkward situation because he had to try to ask Nanda Maharaj to go back without him, knowing very well that it would break the hearts of the gopis, what to speak of Mother Yashoda. And so Nanda Maharaj then tried to make all these arguments. Well, we'll all come here to Mathura then to be with you. And Krishna was trying to give excuses to Nanda not to do that. And it's not that Vrindavan was that far from Mathura either. I mean, it's not that they couldn't have all just came. But the point was that one of the excuses that Krishna said, even if you all come, what about the cows? You know, where will the cows eat? There's not enough pasture ground around here for them to come. And then the figure is given, I forget which Purana it is in, but there is practically a quadrillion calves in Vrindavan. So like if you multiply 10 multiplied by the power of, not billions, not trillions, but quadrillions. Now whatever figure that is, but that's the amount of calves that were in Vrindavan. So you try to work that out. If you divide that up by 64 square miles of Vrindavan, how many cows would be in each square mile? And anyway, that's not even counting the cows. But anyway, just to show you that this these whole pastimes are amazing pastimes, and we cannot understand it with our pea brain. And but anyway, so Krishna eventually got the cowherd boys and Nanda Maharaj to go home, and they had such a difficult time when they went there. But eventually, Krishna started sending messengers there, basically with Uddhava, and he sent letters and so many different ways. He was trying to allow the devotees there to be somewhat appeased, and in fact, as I said earlier, that it's not that the cowherd boys and the gopis couldn't go to Vrindavan, but because of the amazing non-difference of Vrindavan to Krishna. The mood in Vrindavan is complete service. You know, all the gopis, Mother Yashoda, all the cowherd boys, their only desire there is to serve Krishna. And they have no selfish desire. Anya bilashita sunam jnana karmana ninavitam. Anu kulyana krishnanu kshilanam bhaktar uttamam. So I can only just talk about that. I have a very limited understanding what that means, but that is the mood that was going on, that was prevalent in Vrindavan. So they couldn't come to Mathura, even though it was only a few miles down the road, you could say. They couldn't come there because their whole mood is to serve Krishna, and they want to serve Krishna in the whole Vrindavan mood. They want to serve Krishna as the cowherd boy who's tending all the calves, who goes out every day to herd the cows, and then comes back in the evening, and then at night time the gopis go and they wander in the forest of Vrindavan with Krishna. So if they go to Vrindavan and then they mix up with the people who are taking Krishna in a kind of a slightly more awe and reverential way, it just wouldn't work. Like and also all the groves of Vrindavan aren't there. The River Yamuna isn't there in the same way. There's a complete change, so they can't really do their service without Vrindavan. So therefore, they just in their minds they're always thinking of Krishna and Vrindavan, so they're not separated. So that they can't physically go there. So it's a very kind of elevated point in that sense. So but that's very important to understand as well, because especially if we are like we are in Govindadwipa, we're recreating the mood of Vrindavan. So the mood in Govindadwipa as well should be one of service and serving Krishna and serving Radha Govinda, because that is the ideal center. Now, Krishna, it's not that we can actually necessarily do that ourselves, but if we keep on praying to Krishna, praying sincerely to Krishna to allow us to serve him, especially if we chant very sincerely in the morning time and we attend Mangalarati, we go to class, and then in the evening time we greet Krishna and we serve the Krishna so nicely, we will start to invoke that mood, and then it will become the holy Dham, and Krishna and Radharani will be there. And so these are the some of the secrets of the Dham that we read about last week, and but we can see that in the purport here how the devotees are in that mood, that they're immersed in thought of the Lord while he was away from Dwarka. So sorry, excuse me. This service and separation, Vipralambya, and understanding of the aprakat Leela of Krishna, the non-manifest. That's what I feel that what I was talking about earlier, kind of entering into a meditation when we're reading Srimad-Bhagavatam. It is a very, very wonderful state, actually. As I said, I'm just talking about the little glimpses I get of it from time to time. And I've often said that one of the most beautiful things in my life that I've ever experienced is that when we're explaining Krishna consciousness to somebody who is just starting to understand it, and Krishna becomes relevant in their lives, and they see, and it all starts to click into place. That is one of the most amazing things. But this also is a very close thing, in my humble opinion, is when we're reading Srimad-Bhagavatam and reading Srila Prabhupada's purports, and we get absorbed in them. We get suddenly, we're there and we're thinking, and this is what Prabhupada wants us. He wants us to be thinking in this way. And then, of course, that gets us onto another point about the whole preaching mission. Prabhupada is so incredibly interwoven his pastimes with desire to serve Krishna and desire to talk about Krishna to others. It is the most incredible mixture, because it's often said, and it is clearly said, that you can't give Krishna to others unless you have it yourself. So therefore you have to hear submissively for a long, long time. You have to keep on hearing and hearing. And you can repeat, or we can repeat what we hear, but if we get absorbed in what we hear, then it's much easier to repeat, and it is much more relishable to repeat. And so this is such an important point in order to be able to speak about Krishna. But it's as I said so many times in this Bhagavad Gita 18:68-69, Krishna says, "There'll never be one more dear to me than the person who reveals this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to others." So that dearness to Krishna is is kind of why we're here in the material world and why the material world is here. So that we can actually go back to Krishna and we can hear about Krishna and remember Krishna. And Krishna has set up the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the holy name, so that we can actually associate with Krishna and go back to him. That's why he's done that. That's what the whole purpose of the material world is. So if he's done that, then if we can participate in that whole activity, then Krishna is very, very pleased. And in fact, the devotees of Krishna are as good as Krishna, as good as God. The spiritual master is as good as God, because they're performing the activity of God, why he set up this material world. To bring people back to people who've left that intimate association with him. The spiritual master is of intimate association of the Lord. I mean, if we look at Shakshat Dritave Nasamasta Shastra, but even more so, Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhurya Leela Guna Rupa Ratnamnam Pratikshanasva Dhanalala Pashu Vande Garoshi Charanaravinda. That Krishna, the spiritual master, explains about the pastimes of Radha and Madhava, and explaining about, and is relishing them at every moment. And then he's the intimate Nikunja Yuno Ratikali Siddhai Ya Yalabir Yuktira Pikshaniya. He is the intimate. He's performing activities for Radha and Krishna in the groves of Vrindavan. He's actually doing that. But he's doing that also by spreading Krishna consciousness to others, and he's awakening the souls to come back to the spiritual world. So this analogy is given by Srila Prabhupada here in the purport, where he talks about the sun. It's like the conch shell of Krishna. It's like the heralding of the sunrise. And Prabhupada takes this verse very seriously, this analogy very seriously, about the sun rising. And of course, we don't get it so much unless we're out. I mean, you really get it when I'm in Mayapur, and in the morning time, the sun suddenly it starts to come out, and it's gradually getting brighter. It's such a beautiful occasion. And so this kind of enlivenment is there in Krishna consciousness. This is what this spiritual master is doing. He's awakening the sleeping soul, Jeev Jago, to the presence of Krishna and Krishna's presence. So this is Prabhupada uses this analogy, and he spends a whole paragraph about it. So all the citizens of Dwarka awoke from a state of slumber because of the sunrise of Krishna, and they hastened towards him just to have an audience. The devotees of the Lord know no one else as protector. So this is going on. Internally, Krishna is awakening, and the spiritual master is doing this. He is the awakener. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the awakener, and he's wakening up every town and village. Isn't that a much better narrative than there is a conspiracy theory going on, or a conspiracy going on of some black evil people in the world who are doing all sorts of things? I mean, it may be that that's what's going on, but our meditation is on the awakening of Krishna, and that is our strength, actually. It seems to me that that's our strength. The more that we can actually absorb fully in this whole activity of awakening ourselves to the glories of Krishna, awakening ourselves to the Krishna's apricat presence in our life, and awakening to the presence of the whole Sankirtan preaching mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then, of course, we do that, as I said, Prabhupada. I mean, it's funny, it's a whole class about the holy name, and it's something which I'm only kind of arriving at late. But this is the goal. Prabhupada talks about it, the holy name. He's very clear about that power of the holy name. Thus, due to our association with the illusory energy of the Lord, known as Maya or external energy, yet all fear is vanished as soon as there is the sound of the Lord, represented by his holy name as it was sounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the following words: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. And it's so nice to be in the presence of so many wonderful devotees who speak about the holy name of the Lord. And it gives us some insight into how to enter into the presence of the holy name while chanting Hare Krishna. It's said here about, and it's very clearly said that that fear personified, the material energy, is scared by the sound of Krishna, or Krishna's name, Krishna's conch shell, Panchajanya. So that's just an incredible position that we start to learn how to enter into Krishna's presence through chanting his name. So it's great, as I said, to talk to devotees who are so expert in chanting the holy name, because they can bring out the holy name in your heart, that they can actually explain to you more about where Krishna is and who Krishna is. And it's such a pleasure to listen to these devotees, because they allow us to enter into Krishna's presence, and then Krishna's with us. We it's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but Krishna's here with us. The spiritual master is here with us, and that whatever we think of at the time of death, that state, yad. I want to get the verse actually. Smaran-Bhavam Chajati Antikalebraham Tadha Devaitaro Sadatad Babita. Let me just check it. In the chapter, because which whatever we think of at the time of death, that state we will attain without fail. It's in the 8th chapter. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chajati antikalevram tam tam eveta kantaya saratad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So, therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So, we need the association of people who are in the presence of Krishna and who are constantly thinking of Krishna and who know Krishna, who are personally friendly with Krishna and who understand all the ways that Krishna is trying to relate to us and can give us insight into who Krishna is, which is Prabhupada is doing throughout this whole purport. And that will totally enliven us. It will make our life so successful. It will give us the sweet taste of Krishna and the sweet being in Krishna's presence is and we will become self-realized as well, and that's the person that Krishna wants. It's not like that's what's been brought out here, that the devotees, and they were so excited to go to see Krishna when they heard that he was coming. They ran out of the city, that's how it's put. They were melancholy, they were in a totally down state, and then suddenly they began to run towards him fast. The explanation. Rapidly proceeded. Ujayu rapidly proceeded. Praja, the citizens, Sarva, all, not just a few of them, but they all ran. Krishna's coming. Having heard that sound which threatens fear personified, that's the conch shell, the white and fat-bowled conch shell, being gripped by the hand of the Lord Krishna and sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. So when they heard that sound, it was like a thunder. They all started to race uncontrollably towards Krishna. And the next verses start to explain about the what they did when they saw Krishna, and it gives us an understanding of the gopis in Vrindavan when they heard Krishna's flute. And the different people hear different. Hearing Krishna's flute has a different effect. I mean, the cows become stunned, the calves become stunned. There's so many different responses to hearing Krishna's flute. Can you imagine hearing Krishna's flute? And then the gopis in Vrindavan, dropped everything, just ran towards Krishna in the middle of the night. Now, I think that I'm relating that back to the last part of the purport where Prabhupada says that, the one of the worst things that, of the four different things, four problems of material existence, namely the food problem, the shelter problem, problems of material, the food problem, the shelter problem, the fear problem, and the mating problem. The fear problem gives us more trouble than the others. Isn't that interesting? I think we should note where that is written in the Bhagavatam, because I've often referred to it, but I forgot where it was in the Bhagavatam. But it is there in the Canto 1, Chapter 11, text number 3. Remember that for always. That is where that reference is to the fear problem. And so here we have some girls who are growing up in in Vrindavan, but the forest is always considered to be a very fearful place. But they had no fear. They ran, for not even interested in things. They just wanted to be where Krishna was. That's all they wanted. That's what that was their complete and utter one-pointed attention. So the fear problem is the most difficult one to overcome. And the Prophet says, this is all due to our association with the illusory energy of the Lord, known as Maya, or external energy. So the material, our external energy make us very fearful. But if we can hear the sound of Krishna's holy name, which is Prabhupada is saying here, take shelter of the holy name. This is the real surrender, Sarva Dharma Parityajya. If we just take shelter in the holy name, then that is actual surrender. That's and we'll grow to love Krishna through that, to loving the holy name, and just chanting Hare Krishna. So we have to be very careful to do that attentively, to do that with all our heart and all our mind, because probably that's all he's saying to us here. That's what we have to do, to take shelter of the holy name. So we should live our lives in such a way that when we're chanting, we're giving it the best possible opportunity, so that we can be deeply affected by it and deeply go into meditation. This is our meditation. We, as I said earlier, about the absorbing ourselves in Krishna's pastime and through the Bhagavatam, but also in taking shelter of his holy name. So that's so clearly brought out here by Srila Prabhupada in his purport. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I might be a little bit early, but I don't have an ability to find out if there are any questions. But thank you very much for spending the time. I hope I was just representing what the purport is representing, and I hope it is being of benefit, and look forward to hearing and being in the presence of the devotees very shortly again. Kantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki Vanchakalpatruvyaschar Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Hare Krishna.